Welcome to Storyhub, a podcast for customer-obsessed D2C leaders. The heroes of your brand story are your customers. Your best customers stay longer and spend more, driving growth as they love your products, brand, and their experience. On the podcast, we'll be talking to D2C leaders, innovative tech companies, and thought leaders from retail and hospitality about their observations, inspirations, and the simple hacks of crafting the experiences that keep customers coming back. Welcome to Storyhub.
I just don't find that convenient. In fact, I find it unfair many times to the customer. And it's a very difficult job to be an expert of absolutely everything.
People have very, very low tolerance for being mistreated, yet
I would rather pay more money and go to a competitor.
I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Fran Brzyski of Hark. Hark is reimagining how customers communicate with brands. And it was so exciting because I've been in the customer service chair myself, and the challenge of trying to explain something when you're having a challenge with a product. So I'm going to pick up my Echo and say, what do you call that button? I'm having a problem with that button. Well, in a chat or an email or a voice, you're forced to try and figure out what to call that, but you don't know. You don't know what to call it. And that is one of the fundamental problems of the customer experience in the digital age, is the text dependency versus simply pointing at things. It's a massive break from the past, and it's a massive break in the wrong direction. You know, back in the past, you'd walk into an old-timey merchant and you'd have a broken thing and you would show it directly to them and they would see exactly what was broken and they'd go and they'd get you a new one. In the digital world, obviously we have the transportation costs and everything else, but this inability to capture the precise issue easily without a burden on the customer's time, it is a massive opportunity for a huge experiential upgrade for customers. Because we all know that. Like when we take off our e-commerce hats and we put on our I'm a customer hat, we know this very well. We've all had the experience of having a problem with a product, walking into a physical location, having exchange quickly and easily, and we're off on our way. Like, that's the model. So how do we let our customers explain themselves in their own words? And again, they'll lack the words to the very specific issues that you as brands need to resolve the problem. Well, getting them out of the word business and into the pointing business, to my mind, is as Fran says, a reversion to simplicity that is fantastic. So with that, I'd love to introduce Fran Brzyski from Hark. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Andy, thanks for having me, man. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks. So I'm so excited about what you're doing at Hark, and would love to share with the audience is how you're reimagining the customer experience here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're excited too. We're really looking at the omni-channel approach and all the channels that are given to customers in the effort to be convenient, and we're flipping that on its head a bit, and we're trying to guide customers through a journey where no matter what they want to reach out about, in a personalized experience for that specific brand, whether it be video, whether it be audio, text, or screen recording even, they can just very easily show their point of view, be heard in a very efficient, short manner, give the details that the brand needs, and move on with their day. And we've done a great job of building that experience and helping brands deliver that incredible experience, but also setting up agents for success, where with full context, they can become champions for their customers, and it excites them, right? Like, that's what they sign up to do. And it becomes a win-win for both sides. So, yeah.
And so what was the challenge in the existing omni channels? Because obviously there are so many channels, and they keep getting added that it confuses me as to how the heck that the company wants me to get in contact. So what was the challenge that you set out to tackle when you found it hard?
Yeah, I think in a sense we've mistaken convenience at points. I believe the intention is obviously noble, it's obviously good, right? We want to meet the customer where they are and make it very easily to get in touch with our team. With the technology that we have today and the way that human beings interact today, I just don't find that convenient. In fact, I find it unfair many times to the customer to try to figure out what is the best way to convey this specific issue. It's great that it's easy for me to get in touch this way, but it might not be the best channel to deliver what I need to deliver to you. And I think because of that, it sets up maybe not a poor customer experience, but not the best. And it certainly doesn't set up the agent for success or to become a champion, what it leads to is a lot of unnecessary back and forth that could easily be mitigated. I think customers are more willing than ever to give the information that you need up front.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we're reluctant to ask, and asking on the back end actually does more harm than good. So we just want to make it easier to front load. Hey, here's what's going on. Like, this is my point of view. And then set up the agent so that they have everything in a fully contextualized ticket where either they can handle it or they can route it to the right agent internally to provide the best service back to that customer.
So describe a little bit about the Hark experience, because this is one of those things that I thought was super mindful about, the realities that the customers face, and they have a product or a service or whatever it might be, and they're not the experts, the company is the expert. So
Right.
Share a little bit, paint a picture for us as to what the Hark experience is all about.
Yeah, of course. So we have a few brands that sell ovens. We have brands that sell furniture. Then, we have brands that sell food and things like that. The idea is, let's take the oven, for example. If you need to get in touch because something's not working, or you have a question or whatever it might be, that company might require different things based on your request. So with Hark, it's a powered by approach. Anywhere you have a digital footprint. We can be in your email footer. We can be on your website. We can be even in your chatbot. And that customer reaches out to say, hey, my oven is smoking, or my oven doesn't seem to be cooking my food correctly. Can somebody help? Well, in those instances, a video says 1,000 words that you don't have to say. Like, you can just show and say, here's what's going on. I have it plugged in here. And what's interesting is by pinning the customer for context early in the journey, they share a lot. Hey, I had this oven for 3 months. You might have never known that, right? With a chatbot, it might just be, my oven is damaged. So we allow the customer just free form and say what's going on, and then pick up those ancillary pieces of information. It might be, now take a picture of the lot number on the back. It might be, type out your order number if you have to, but we're trying to make it as frictionless as possible to collect all of that, allow the customer to move on, and they actually get a tracking link so that as that ticket is routed internally, they can see that, hey, Andy's working on my request. Oh, Andy transferred to Fran. At least somebody's working on it. That gives you peace of mind. And then again, for the agents, we extract a lot of information out of that, whatever form they reach out from, and we bring it into a uniform manner, which the help desks love, and we give it to the agent in a way that's very easy to digest, gives them everything they need up front, and they can take action on, whether immediately or maybe based on the inquiry type, not immediately. Maybe it's not an urgent thing, and we can prioritize or deprioritize very elegantly based off what the customer reaches out about.
Yeah. Well, it's I started my life as many of us did in customer service, and I remember that folks would call up, and this is back in the day where everything was voice, and they'd call up and they'd say basically they'd say something, and I learned very early on, just interpret that as help, because when you're dealing with very, very specific products, in our case, it was, on a computer help desk. So we had lots of moving parts, as an agent, you wanted to start to probe, like, okay, when did it start? Because their descriptions of the problems, they're not experts. So they're going to use a whole bunch of words that may or may not mean anything. And so that was the exciting thing about Hark is, and the stove example, I love to cook, and I could imagine something, and I've lived through something being broken on the stove and literally not knowing the name of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, there's a thing. What's the thing called? I'm like, I don't know. Like, there's the stove, there's a knob, like there are the things that I know, but there are a lot of nuanced things that I don't know. And so forced to write them out, I feel increasingly like an idiot. And that's driving my frustration levels and not communicating with the agents. And
Right.
so the Hark model, I think, really grasps that fundamental human issue where if I could just point at it, you'll know very well what it's called, and that dimension of how to explain things, the text only models really force people to grapple with language that is so inaccurate as to be a challenge for an agent to interpret, and this decouples that.
Because I know the mission behind Storyhub is that your customers are humans, and let's extract those insights from them. So if we think about the other side of it too, the agents are humans as well. And the model that you just mentioned in customer service, a lot of times agents are kind of thrown into the ring. right? Okay, you're going on the phones now. And it's a very difficult job to be an expert of absolutely everything. And after years of being there, of course, that organically happens. But what we've seen in our customers is that by having all this information from your customers asynchronously allows agents to onboard in a better way. They can get thrown into more challenging problems that they wouldn't have the opportunity for otherwise, and actually solve them and learn from that, and then be better prepared for the next time. So the other side to it is what you said. I mean, if you call in and you're neutral and you're like, hey, like I just have a problem, this is great, I got in touch in 2 minutes, but then you're getting routed 3 times and you're repeating yourself. You're like, I just spent 15 minutes of my day where I gave you the problem. Like, just go help me handle it. Like, how can I help you help me? And I think customers are at the point where they want to do that, and we're just giving a mechanism to feel heard and give you all that.
Yeah, no, and you're so right. So many of the the KPIs that are driven, first call resolutions and time on the link and the cost per ticket and all of these things are, create a series of counter human incentives. Yeah. And, one of the things that I love to talk about is, challenging customer experiences, that back and forth that is so frustrating, because sometimes back and forths look like a delayed ticket, but the reality is that it's a human being whose frustration is growing on the other side. So, I love to go back to real life examples. Do you have any experiences that you've had personally that sort of, inspire you at Hark?
Of course. Yeah. There's a good one that comes to mind with a big box retailer where we were redoing our bathroom, and I had gotten a faucet, like a tub faucet. And I go to put it in, and it was, the water was coming out of the spout, but also from everywhere else. So it was clearly malfunctioning. Not a big deal, it happens, right? So I reach out, give the order. I give as much as I can, and they send me a new one, but it's the wrong one. It's not the right model. It doesn't match at all. So I reach out again, and the same thing happens. That wrong model gets sent again. So there's clearly something on their records or whatever it might be. But if I could have just shown them what it was, which finally after the 3rd time I did, after the picture wouldn't upload to email and I had to compress it and I had to go through hoops just to show them what's going on. I mean, think about the amount of time, effort, but also cost from shipping perspective. Because at the end of that, they said, oh, just keep the other ones. It's like, great, well, what am I going to do with these? I don't need this. Right. So now I've got clutter. And I say all this because it's just unnecessary. Yeah. It also, when I go to those, there's a few big box retailers you can go to. So when I'm thinking about anything that's a significant purchase, in the back of my mind is, well, how am I going to be treated after the fact? Is this going to be something where it's white glove and they're going to have my back and I'm going to feel supported? Or is it going to be such a pain that I would rather pay more money and go to a competitor just to know that, have that peace of mind that I'm okay? And I want to deliver that experience and offer it to all brands. I don't think it's hard. I just think that we've been set up in this way of, okay, let's scale customer service, and we bring in a call center, we bring in live chat, we bring in all these functions, and then we add KPIs, like you said, on top of it, that might be disincentivizing agents to give the human approach. I'm not saying everybody does that, but it does happen. And then all of a sudden you've got this chaotic tech stack that you're managing, and it gets out of control quite quickly.
Yeah, no, it's, and certainly playing into Storyhub, you lose the customers through the data. Yeah. I mean, they're all of these different channels are fragmenting the customer's journey through your brand and creating, so many opportunities for this. Because how long were you without a bathroom?
Yeah, it took a month to get it resolved, which not the end of the world, right? But it was just, where I get frustrated is it was just unnecessary. It wasn't like, oh, it's back ordered because at the time, we were going through COVID, and it was like they had what they needed. It was just miscommunication, and I was putting so much effort into communicating, I didn't feel heard, and that was the frustrating part through it all. We all have patience, we get it, but at those times you're just like, how else can I show you? Like, how else can I get this off my plate? Yeah.
Well, and it was one thing when we were all bound to a geography, right? It's like, what stores are you going to use? Which stores are near me? And so therefore there was this really constrained scenario where, the shelf space and whatever, and they could love you or mistreat you, and it was all a boundary condition. But in the world of e-commerce, where everything is a click away, People have very, very low tolerance for being mistreated, yet most brands don't really deliver a special experience. So it really is an opportunity in my mind to competitively differentiate, because you're not going to competitively differentiate on products. They're going to see 16 products that look just like yours in their social feed tomorrow, and thereby this post experience. Well, you that story reminded me of one that Ben had shared on another episode. Ben Siegel from Now Thesis, shared about his experiences at Freshly when someone didn't get their meals, and it's like they didn't get their meals tonight. And it's like, the reality is you can fulfill the order, but they still have to figure out dinner tonight. And that's the very human issue that, you have to use your bathroom. Therefore, you had to figure out a plan B that involved, maybe another bathroom, and depending on the contentions in your household, the frustrations are far beyond the particular faucet, because customers are people too, and they have lives. And how does this issue intersect with their life, and how much back and forth time are they prepared to give you before they just walk away? And I think of customers quiet quitting on brands. Well, that's super interesting. So when did you start Hark?
Wow, it's been over a year now. So at this time last year, I had freshly quit my day job and went full time into Hark, and took a big risk, but it was a calculated decision that my wife was on board for, and humbly hired a team of amazingly talented individuals and built the product to the point that we could get it to market and add value pretty quickly. And we did. So we launched last October. And we have over 20 brands now that are enjoying it, that we're working with. We've very tight relationships with those brands, that we're there for them every step of the way. It's been a fun journey. Like I knew I was a builder, and I knew I was destined for that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I've learned a ton in a short time. So it's definitely been great. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are some of your big takeaways? Because you sat in a number of sales leadership roles in other companies growing, and the one that I first became aware of you is with Kathleen Roberge,
yes,
at Rocket Trip, which was funny because it actually made a company around an idea that motivated us at the company that Kathleen and I worked at, where we'd compete for who could travel for the least money. But that was how I first became aware of you. So what lessons have you learned sitting in this seat now?
I've always been dealing with behavior, right? Like I've always been drawn toward that human psychological behavior at most of my startups. So I have, like you said, over a decade of go-to-market experience, and sitting on that side, you're talking to customers all the time, and you're putting requests into the product team for features and functionality that is typically selfish for your sales cycle and your quota, right? Like if you can deliver on those, we can get these customers and we can move on. And my co-founder, Matt Ring, is our head of product. One of the things that he instilled in me early, we actually met at Rocket Trip as well, was to ruthlessly prioritize. So that's when we go through sprint planning, when we think about delivering new things on the product, it is what is adding a ton of value to our customers versus what is not. We listen and we hear our customers, and we add things absolutely where we can. But just because people are like, can you change the formatting in X? Well, does that really change Y, or is that just kind of a nice to have? So we've gotten very, very good at that. I think that's what allows us to move so fast and to deliver so well, where our customers continue to find more and more value out of the product. So I think that was the biggest thing, of just how strict you have to get with that, and not say, oh, we're going to tackle this feature next or that feature next. It's very, very disciplined approach.
Yeah, no, and giving them, being responsive, and certainly in the early days of startups, being responsive to things that people need. That's the recipe for creating the cocktail that is that can be a rocket ship. So
the customers are, they know when they sign up and you're early, they know that, right? They believe in your vision, which again, humbling like very humbling and very exciting. I can't really describe that feeling. And I think it's how you work with them. Like we have dedicated Slack channels, and we are very always there for them, to the point that we're probing things, we're asking things, and getting, one of the best compliments we ever got was, I've been so aligned with what you're building, I just never realized it. Right.
Wow.
So coming from like the outside and flipping some things on its head, having people respond to that saying, I totally believe in this vision, I just didn't realize it was there. Right. So anyway, I totally agree.
Can you share a little bit? I'd love to hear sort of that one of those moments, because I know those moments at a startup where you have this idea, you've been pursuing it, and all of a sudden a customer turns to you and it's like, that is, they have a magical experience with what you're doing.
When very early days, I remember getting our first real feedback from a customer that went live and sharing, we have our first CSAT review, and my stomach just turning upside down. Okay, what is it? And seeing the 5 stars and seeing their customer explaining this was so easy. When I first was reaching out, I thought it was going to be a painful process. This was amazing. Like, so to see that, because clearly where we are in a macroeconomic environment, it's all about ROI. It's all about how can you do more with less, and we understand that, and we deliver on those KPIs. But to see the really like subjective side of the impact to the customers, that was amazing. And then it's like, when your customers start to really use the tool and they will Slack you like, wow, my head's spinning now with what we can do here. Can we do X? Like seeing them get excited. So one of our, best people, Jessica Rose, she's at OneSkin. She's amazing. And, she had said to me at one point, we talk all the time on the phone, and she had said, you explaining this reversion towards simplicity, you hear that and you think not as great of an experience, simple, maybe being like only offering email, but just making it simple for customers to get their point across, making it simple for agents. Like this reversion towards simplicity, she's like, it took me a while to wrap my head around that. And that's one of those moments where she was like, I totally understand now, and I get it. Like, I'm so excited about what we can do for the future. And then when they start saying it doesn't get better than that.
No. I love reversion to simplicity. It's like reversion for me. It's reversion to humanity, but those are two very convergent ideas. That how do you get? Because in the beginning of any tech stack, it's always a mess. I'm old enough to have lived through a bunch of the messes, and then you get to like, oh, everything just works. Like it's like all the smartphones that preceded these things. We're just horrible products that just got more and more complex. And then it's like, oh, well, what if we make this thing with one button? Like. And everyone's like, "Are you crazy?" Like, but it's that when the technology gets strong enough to revert to simplicity, that's a fabulous guiding principle, because ultimately all of us have to fit into our customers' lives, and if we don't fit into our customers' lives, they will think it's a fancy idea for a moment or two and then reject it.
I've learned like pretty quickly. We are connected to so much, and we are watching so much and judging so much that it's easy to get caught into based on what you follow and what you interact with, and it keeps giving you more, getting into that mode. And as human beings, I think as a start, when we have to think, I'm not plugging Apple here, but that think differently, when we have to innovate a little bit and think outside the herd, or think outside what we deem as normal, I think we get excited as human beings. Like that's where innovation happens. So that I think that's part of it for our customers, is they're so used to maybe going through a process, or here's how it's been done for so long, that when this innovation occurs, it sparks something for them where it's, we could do this, or we've always done it this way, but what if we did it that way? And like that inflection point is very, very special, not only for Hark, but like just in general. I think it's just a good guiding principle.
Yeah. Well, it's I think to your point about humans connecting and engaging, that if it breaks a mold in an interesting way, right? Because then because I think about empathetic curiosity. And it's like, okay, what do we do to unlock that? Because we see, I've always in interviews for people working with the team and at other companies, I'm always like, what are you into? What unlocks your passion?
Yeah.
Because you hear people, straight, normal folks, they talk about their job, and then you ask them about their passion, and the level of amplitude changes, 3x.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do I get a little bit of that amplitude on this thing that pays your mortgage?
Yeah.
Because it's an energy source.
Yeah.
No. Well, Fran, this has been an incredibly fun conversation. Where can folks find Hark?
Yeah. Very, very active on LinkedIn. So it's linkedin.com/fbrzyski. And if you spell that right on the first try, then you're further along than I am. But you go to our website, sendhark.com. We also have a LinkedIn page, but yeah, reach out. Happy to talk about this stuff. And I think it's in a very crowded space in e-commerce. It's very interesting to see there's a shift happening. There's a shift in buying behavior happening. There's a shift in response happening, specifically with influencers who are now making brands and really thinking about the customer experience in new ways. Like Jess Surveyan from Feastables, like the way that she approaches every single aspect, because they were founded by Mr. Beast, and that is so important to them. It's incredible, and their retention because of it follows suit very well. So I think we're at a very interesting point in these businesses overall, where the ones that are 1 degree separated from their customers, the ones that know their customers the best, are going to be the ones that not only survive but thrive in a very tough macroeconomic environment. That doesn't mean people aren't buying anymore. It means they're just being more selective.
Yeah, well, it's an incredibly important point, because this idea that is there going to be 4 monoliths in the market, Walmart, Target, Amazon, whatever, or is there going to be to quote Bush 1,000 points of light kind of thing, where there are these very targeted brands with very passionate followers, and they have a very intimate and intimate experience and relationship, and support them as people. And that's that idea of that relationship is incredibly inspiring. So
absolutely. Well, look, man, thanks for having me. I thought it was great.
Absolutely.
I love talking about this stuff, and hopefully you'll have me back sometime.
Absolutely, Fran. Look forward to catching up again. Thanks.